Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Fierce Female Friday, and we have a fierce leader in the house with us. As always, as you join us today, please make sure to let us know where you're watching from today. Are you at home? Are you in the office? Are you in your car? Are you on vacation? Anybody on vacation? I know that there's a lot of kiddos that are on their spring fling vacation, whatever you call it in your neck of the woods. Are you? What's going on? What's going on? Tell us. Fill us in. And something we started last week that we would love to continue is tell us something good that happened this week. What was good? We want to read the good things that are happening in your lives, in our beloved's lives. So drop a comment and let us know what is going on for you. How can we celebrate you? And of course, if there's anything that you need, we're always here for that too. So if you need a contact or you need a shoulder to cry on, you let us know. So today we've got a couple of Woman Up updates. The first is we are going into the final week of Women's History Month, which means we still have 12 days, 12 whole days where we can shine a light on another woman. So if you have yet to share a post with the I Am Woman Up hashtag for our challenge, please do that. Take some time this weekend, scroll through your phone, find a couple of women who have really truly made a positive impact in your life and post it on social, post it on Instagram or Facebook. Well, we're watching on both of those networks and we want to help you amplify the story of her. So again, if you want some additional details, you can go to iamwomanup.com. It's right there on the front page. We'd love to help you support her and shine a light on her. The second is this last week, we had our second wisdom series. We had Stephanie Anton leading a conversation with Bernadette Cole, Mona Phillips, and Krista Huffstickler on leveling up your recruiting and retention. And it was fire. So many amazing tips, actionable advice, lots of technology that they've used to implement it. And I have to say, the idea storming that happened during this conversation, there were all sorts of great ideas on how to recruit and retain both agents and clients and staff, actually all three, through our holidays that are coming up. So make sure you listen in because there are some really cool ideas. Drive-through meetings, drive-in movies, ways to rally your communities around Easter. So take a listen to that. We will be sharing it with everybody who registered, and whether they attended or not, we'll be sharing that over the weekend. And then on Monday, the replay will be live on iamwomanup.com/wisdom series-replay. Whew. So those are the big ones. Sarah, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Share your updates. You bet.
I am going on vacation next week. So as you can imagine, the last day in the office is always crazy. So bear with me today. I did want to take a moment to talk about what's happening in the world and what happened in Atlanta. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you who commented on my post yesterday. It's heartbreaking, it's appalling, and it's up to us to stand together, speak up for each other, eliminate bias and discrimination. And, you know, that's something that's very near and dear to CAR's heart. We hired Farrah Wilder as our chief DEI officer. We are committed in our strategic plan and from our leadership on down to every single one of our staff to make sure that we address some of the injustices that have happened to people of color and Asian Americans are. And I want you to know that, you know, if you're feeling hurt or want to talk to somebody, just reach out, you know, reach out to me, reach out to the community. This is a very safe place, and I've seen it. It's a beautiful, safe community, and we are here for you. So just wanted to take a moment to remind you all of that, and I know you know. As far as CAR updates are concerned, I know that there is a lot of misinformation about the PRO Act, that's Senate Bill HR 842 to be exact. and that's the labor bill that touches on employer-employee relationships, aka independent contractor. I just want you to know that we've talked to NAR, we are well aware of this, CAR is on top of this, NAR is on top of this. I'm sure Michelle's association is on top of it as well. But it does not have enough votes to pass in the Senate. And NAR remains engaged. In California, we have AB 5. There's the ABC test. There's a special carve out for real estate industry. And CAR was instrumental in getting that passed. So we're on it, and I'll share the NAR comment if anybody's interested or wants to read up more about it. We'll put that in the comments. As far as California is concerned, as a result of the American Rescue Plan, the PUA recipients will have an extra $300 a week starting April 10th, and there shouldn't be a lapse. And that's really great for realtors, because realtors can receive, who are not who do not have income, can receive pandemic unemployment assistance. And I'll share any pertinent links in the chat as well. I'm here for you, and that's pretty much it from me.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm so I believe I can speak for a majority of the membership inside the Woman Up community in particular, that we surround you and all of the women who are triggered by what happened in Atlanta. Yeah. And we are learning every day that it's important to speak out loud about these things. And so thank you so much for saying it out loud and for sharing on the group and giving us all a space to talk about it. So thank you very much. Leslie, what's on Leslie's mind with her cool ponytail, her Floridian
ponytail? It's my Peloton ponytail. It's the best I can do right now, and it's a little bit damp. Anyway, last week I talked about the Empathy Diaries and what a great book it was, and gave you, I hope, some reasons to read it. And I read it very quickly. And now I have a book that I actually have not read more than the first introductory pages, but I think it is worth mentioning because it ties into the conversations that Sarah and Farah and CAR has been having, and others, I'm sure, all over the country in the wake of what happened in Atlanta and the women who were targeted. So it's called Whistling Vivaldi, and it's by Claude Steele. And I, of course, thought, what is Whistling Vivaldi about? So I just want to read this one paragraph that'll make it clear. And he's talking about Brent Staples, who is a columnist for the New York Times, but at the time that he's writing, had this experience. He was a graduate student at the University of Chicago in psychology, African-American male. And he said, he's walking down the streets of Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood, which I know Michelle knows where that is, of course. And he said, I became an expert in the language of fear. Couples locked arms or reached for each other's hands when they saw me. Some crossed the other side of the street. People were carrying on conversations, went mute, and stared straight ahead as though avoiding my eyes would save them. I'd been a fool. I'd been walking the streets grinning good evening at people who were frightened to death of me. I did violence to them by just being. How had I missed this? I tried to be innocuous, but didn't know how. I began to avoid people. I turned out of my way. I turned into out of my way side streets to spare them the sense that they were being stalked. Out of nervousness, I began to whistle and discovered I was good at it. My whistle was pure and sweet and also in tune. On the street at night, I whistled popular tunes from the Beatles and Vivaldi's Four Seasons. The tension drained from people's bodies when they heard me. A few even smiled as they passed me in the dark. So, I cannot wait to read the rest of this book, and just hope that there will come a time when where people won't have to whistle Vivaldi to get through a neighborhood and have people be afraid of them. It's just unacceptable. So anyway, on that note,
Wow.
I'll report back after I've read the book.
Thank you. Will you please also drop the name and the link in the comments? Because wow, I want to see if it's on Audible, because that sounds like a power walk kind of book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, so good. Well, let's get into our conversation with the guest of the hour. So some of you have met Michelle Mills Clement. Some of you haven't. Those of you who have and haven't, you're in for such a treat. So this woman is the CEO of the Chicago Association of REALTORS. She's an experienced association executive, and she previously served as the president and CEO of the Commercial Brokers Association. Can we say Old Boys Club?
Yeah.
Come on. And guess what? It was here in my city, in Seattle, Washington. How crazy. I wish I would have known you then.
No.
Oh, goodness.
That would have been fun.
Michelle is a passionate voice for fair housing, anti-racism inside our beloved industry, as you heard Sarah share before, and as you will hear throughout our conversation today. Under her leadership in 2018, the Chicago Association of REALTORS issued an apology for past actions in promoting inequality and segregation in Chicago. Wow. She has been a vocal advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, penning an op-ed for the Chicago Tribune. Ooh, we need a link to that, sister.
Get that.
On the importance of ending segregation in real estate and issuing an industry call for action, seeking more equity for Black realtors and fair and equal treatment for Black and minority property owners. This is so important. We need to keep these conversations alive, and we needn't wait for tragedy to happen to keep those conversations front and center. So we are going to be talking to her today about those. I also want to point out that this woman is a political campaign fundraising and volunteer management. Whoop, whoop. Like
previous life, right?
You know what though? This is important again to talk about, that you are passionate about politics, and that means you step into the arena in those conversations. We'll drop in all of the places that you have impacted in that. And then I also want to make sure that we highlight the fact that you have won so many awards and honors. Oh my gosh. Crane's Chicago Business is 40. I'm going to do it. Sit back. Crane's Chicago Business is 40 under 40. Twice Chicago Agent Magazine's Association CEO of the Year. Connect CRE's 2020 Women in Real Estate Award, BizNow Chicago's Commercial Real Estate Power Woman and Rising Star, and most recently, which we did talk to someone recently about, was named to the prestigious Swanepoel Power 200 list of the most powerful, influential executives and leaders in the residential real estate brokerage industry, amongst others. Woo! Welcome.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Thanks. It's good to be here with you ladies.
We're so honored.
It's
What an
exciting.
amazing bio.
I know.
Michelle, do you remember when we met?
I do. We met in line at a Starbucks at an ASAE conference. Where was it?
It
Was it
was-
in San Francisco?
I don't even remember, but I remember the Starbucks. I remember
I think
the
we were in
Starbucks.
Detroit. I think it was Detroit, Michigan.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
right.
Wow.
But you know, and I will say, you know, talking about gaps in diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're one of the only other women of color there. And so I was like, hey girl.
In line
Hey,
at the hotel Starbucks. I remember that
Right.
clearly. And I remember all of the things because you zone in like, ooh, minority. There you are.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah. Who looks like me? I get it. I get it.
And then
this
look at this.
I know, and now we're
So
here.
crazy.
So thank you for being here. And at the time you were running that commercial group, and I just want to share with us what your journey has been like, and now leading a big, huge association in the real estate space. So tell us.
Yeah, so my background is not real estate. My background is association management. So I'm not a licensed broker, never have been, never sold real estate. But I have been in association management work for probably close to 15 years. I've worked for groups like medical groups, different trade associations. I worked for some cool ones like the Cosmetology Association. That was really fun. I've worked with some, very different type of associations across the board and got like my certification, CAE, Certified Association Executive, and always felt like you can just drop me in any association and I'll know what to do. But then when we moved to Seattle, we moved there for my husband's job. He was working for Starbucks. I had to leave Chicago and this hub of associations. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I got to find more associations to work for. And at the time, NAIOP, the Commercial Real Estate Development Association, was hiring an executive director for their Washington State chapter. And so I had that CAE already, which wasn't as prominent on the West Coast as it was in Chicago and in DC. And so I was able to get, a call pretty quickly. Like they hadn't posted the job. It was more just, sharing and connecting. And they're like, oh, we're actually doing some rounds of interviews now. Long story short, ended up getting that role. And the members of NAIOP were also members of CEBA, which is the Commercial Brokers Association. So when their CEO is retiring, they reached out. They say, hey, we know you're over here, but what do you think about coming over here? And of course, I'm like, okay, I just got over here, so I don't know about that just yet. But one of the really cool things was he had started all the main commercial real estate brokerage groups in Seattle. He had touched all of them, and I knew him not well. I had met him one time at a NAIOP event, and I said, I'm going to talk to him because he was on the search committee. And I said, I don't know how this would look, switching to another association so quick. And he explained to me, I don't know what all this association management stuff is. I do know real estate, and people bounce all the time. He's like, you're going to be in the same industry. It's going to be the same members. What's the worst that could happen? Just interview, see what happens. And he was right. He was right. And I had so much support when I moved over to the commercial brokers group and left the developers. Still got to work together with them. And it was just such a introduction to real estate in a way I didn't know I loved. And being in Seattle, and Deborah, Seattle and commercial real estate is the place to be. And I was living on the Amazon campus at that time. So watching an industrial
Oh my
area,
gosh, yeah.
right, turn into this residential multifamily powerhouse was just all things I wanted to learn about. And that's when I really just dove into real estate and made a commitment to stay with real estate associations.
So
How
can you
did you
tell
get-
me?
Everybody's got a
Leslie.
question.
We're like... Go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, I was just going to ask, but how did you initially get into association management? I mean, it's not typically something you hear people say, oh, when I grow up, I want to be an associate. It's like, what? What's that?
I know. I hope I could change that one day. That's my goal, to change that. But I think it's such a hidden gem of a career. But yeah, it's an accident like anything else. You don't realize you're in association management work, and then all of a sudden you realize you're in it. But it really was about, I was working for the Boy Scouts of America. So I went into nonprofit work intentionally because my degree was in communications. And I was an associate producer at like a local CBS affiliate in Peoria, Illinois. It's as boring as it sounds. Like, it was just, yeah. So I was there, and I remember coming out I used to associate produce, like the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news. So you have a break between like that 6 and 10 o'clock. So I was going to Wendy's in the parking lot. I wanted to go get some fries. And the lead producer, like the main evening news producer, was outside kicking his car. There's smoke coming out of it. He's kicking it. He's cursing and he's yelling. And I'm looking at him. I said, are you okay? And he says, don't go into TV or this is what you get. And he kept kicking the car. And I walked to Wendy's, and I decided that day, I am done. I am not doing TV, journalism, communication. I need to find another career because I don't want any part of that. And that is when I decided to go the nonprofit route, because I liked doing that at school. I liked that type of work. I liked planning events and working with volunteers. And so I just started applying for jobs out of college with nonprofits, ended up with the Boy Scouts. And over time, ended up with some membership-based associations. And then voila, it knocks you on your head and you're like, this is what I do. This is my career.
I love what you said. It was an accident. So
Yeah.
much of
Oh,
things in our life are just or
seriously.
serendipity, whatever. Yeah.
Right, right.
I just was gonna ask, like, what is it about real estate that makes you want to stay? I know you
Mhm.
worked at several different associations, but real estate specific.
I
What do you
feel like
love?
real estate touches everything. You know, when I worked for different groups, it was just for those individuals in those groups. Cosmetology, you know, if I went and saw my hairdresser, we can all talk about what we learned and what we're doing in the association. When I worked for like a bankers group, if I'm talking to other bankers, they can relate. Real estate is everybody. You know, everybody needs a place to live. Everybody needs a place where they go and buy things in retail, where they shop, where they have community through restaurants, a library. Like real estate literally touches everything you do. And so that's a conversation, a connector that I felt so powerful and so strongly about. And at one point I was really committed to just sticking on the commercial side of things because I just love the intersectionality of it. But the residential side has turned so personal for me back in Chicago because my home journey to home ownership, you know, is not always been as easy. And it's been something that's been personal. You know, I grew up in Chicago, born and raised on the South Side, where it is a segregated city, you know, the second most segregated city in the country. And it wasn't until I lived in Seattle that I learned that all cities weren't like that, that I learned that all cities weren't intentionally set up by race. And that was an adjustment. And so when we came back, it was even more clear how intentional this was. So
Mm.
that's when it really started to bring out even more of a passion, and that connection is deeper now.
Wow. I love that. You know what I think it's such a great reminder that what we have to get out of our own bubbles
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
see where our calling is screaming out, where it
Yeah.
is that we plant. That is
Mhm.
so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's the generational thing because I feel a real attachment to the south side of Chicago because my mother's side of the family was Swedish, right? And they came and lived there and they worked for the Pullman car
Yeah.
company that did the train cars. And
Yes.
he was horrible, and he
Mm-hmm.
had a
Yes.
company store and they couldn't buy their homes. And, people compare Pullman to Hershey,
Mm-hmm.
who was just it's all capitalism, but you can do it
Right.
different ways, and he cared about his workers and they were able to buy homes and something. So, I mean, eventually they got out and it
Yeah.
bubbled through, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. So,
I
so I
grew up
guess
not
one
too
of,
far from Pullman, and my
uh,
my aunt lived in Pullman, so that was kind of like I'm literally a hop, skip, and a jump from there.
yeah, I think there's like their Lutheran church is still there,
Yeah, it's still there. Yep,
right?
it's still
So,
there. I was over there a couple months ago. So,
yeah. So, here we are with Women Up. How about some of your pearls of wisdom for women that are looking to advance, in their careers and in leadership opportunities and so on? How have you managed that in your career? And clearly, you've gotten some good advice along the way.
yeah, I have. I've gotten some amazing advice from a lot of women. One being, you can do the job. I mean, it sounds so simple, but a mentor, she was an assigned mentor through a program I was in. We had our first conversation, and this is right when this whole conversation about moving to the brokers came up. And the first thing she said was, "You can do the job." And I'm thinking, you don't even really know me. You don't know what I can do. And she said, if you think any man's going to look at this job description and not say, I can do this,
Uh-huh.
think again. She's like, get yourself in that mentality and go through this and figure out, can you do this or not? And it was as simple as, if you look at managed a budget of whatever million, and the budget I had managed wasn't that high. She says, okay, you've managed a budget, check, next. So something as simple as the mindset of you can do it, I think is a point and key. The other thing I would say is move, be flexible, be open. I had no intentions of ever leaving Chicago, ever. My husband knows I left kicking and screaming. Even when we got there, I was ready to come back. I wanted no parts of it. But it was probably the best experience possible for my career, because I got out of the big city. I got out of, being in this huge pond in this little bitty fish. And now I'm over here, like I said, I have my CAE, I have more opportunities because I was in a smaller community where the resources were different and I could be seen and have more availability of opportunities. So you can always go back. I'm back, and that wasn't planned either. And so that leads to the third thing of just being flexible and open. Just I think as women, we plan so much. We try to plan everything. We try to plan, when we are kids, when we're going to grow up. I remember thinking I was going to get married at 25. Like, yeah, right. When I hit 25, that was a joke. But it's one of those things where just get out of your own way, like you said, and just don't plan so much and let things just fall where they may.
That's
Great
really,
advice.
we just had this in-depth conversation about that, and it was in our strategic planning and finance committee when we were looking at our membership data, and there's still a huge gap in not only brokerage leadership, which is what sparked Woman Up, but also in team leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our male colleagues asked, like, well, why? Why is that? And we had this philosophical conversation that it is innate to women to not feel, it's like a self-limiting belief.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And you just nailed it with, you can do it.
Yeah.
Tell yourself, get it in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that HP study, I mean, and that's been what, 8 years, I think, since HP kind of announced that women wait till they're 100% qualified to apply. And I feel like we've said it so many times over the years inside the Woman Up community. However, I think that the women who are in our community here get that. And so the call to action for all of us is to remind those women who don't already have that confidence that they can do it, like the paying it forward, the being that voice, that mentor, that person who whispers it into someone else's ear, right, is so incredibly important. And as you know, Michelle, we love to talk about mentoring and really bringing whether it's the generation before us, the generation we're in, or the generation behind us, right, bringing us all together and linking arms and sharing our wisdom.
Right.
So when somebody knocks on your door or the phone rings and they say, hey, Michelle, we've got, some time on our schedule. We'd love to have you come in and speak into and over our community. What are those topics you love to talk about?
Yeah, I love leadership conversations. And I know that sounds cheesy, but everybody's not a leader. You know what I mean? And that's okay. But being a leader requires so much resilience. And I think women have that already. It's embedded in us already. But what comes from that is a sacrifice that we often make for ourselves. And sometimes that's at the cost of our own physical and mental health. And so I think the biggest piece of leadership is being authentic and learning to recognize when you're struggling and speak that. And I found that has been most powerful for me in my leadership journey, is being an authentic leader and sharing, like, when I'm not okay or when I go to see a therapist. Everybody on my team knows I have a therapist. They've known from the day I walked in. I try to make sure everybody else does. It's vital, you know what I mean? And so I also want people to know it's not limiting, and it's nothing you should be ashamed of. I look at it as preventative maintenance. It's part of your leadership journey. You've got to do it. And because leaders tend to take on everything and take on the weight of the world and the problems of others and are that listening ear for so many people, if a leader doesn't have that outlet, then everybody's really in trouble. So that's the biggest thing. And the other part I like to talk about a lot is empathy. Having empathy, definitely in leadership, but really in anything you're doing, and how you interact with people and how you listen to people, how you show up for people. The power of empathy should not be ignored. And the last thing I'll say is grace. Grace really goes along with that. Grace is the concept of giving yourself that okay to not be perfect, That okay to have that bad day, that okay to say, you know what, it didn't work out. I did this wrong. I missed this deadline. But giving yourself the grace to move past that and not dwell on it.
I love that. So there's so many things there that I want to go back to. However, this last thing that you're talking about, grace on grace on grace, this is a word we love. That is holy language to speak over ourselves, right? And I know you have this funny story that was kind of around, do you remember this that you were sharing with us in the pre-chat about your national sorority leader? Literally, the being able to when somebody throws the mic to your hand, to be able to speak. I think this is a great example of the personal grace, right? So would you share that with the community?
Yes. So right out of college, I was appointed to the National Social Action Commission for my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. And we set the legislative agenda for like this 300,000 member organization. I never understood why I was there, because I was on a committee with like congresswomen, mayors, lawyers, all these people.
That's your imposter syndrome right there.
It was.
You deserve to be there.
But at that point, I was really confused. But the chair of the commission, she was also she was the mayor of Warrensville Warrensville, Ohio at that time, and she was a past national president. And she was someone that, you know, if she tells you to do something, you just figure it out and do it. And she would really just push you to do things. And so we were at a national convention, and the commission was going to give their national report in front of about 6,000 people. And we all sit on the dais during that part, and it's usually the chairs that give the report. And we're about to go up, and she says, Michelle and Danielle is another one of us. We were both like right out of school. You guys are giving the report. And we're like, what? She's like, yeah, you're going to give the report. Which report? The commission report. Like, let's go. And it was like, oh, wait. And this is not a written report. This is not, here's the paper, read it. It's just get a report. So there's zero time to prep. We're on the stage, like in the midst, there's rest on the agenda. So we're trying to scribble, pulling things out of a journal, trying to figure out what we're going to say. And then, you know, I get up there and I go to speak and I say a few words, and then I stumble, and then I freeze and just don't know what to say in front of 6,000 people, a lot of my friends, a lot of my, you know, all kinds of people in the audience. No, it's so embarrassing, and I'm stuck. And I'm like, oh my God, Danielle didn't know what to do either. And she stands up and she goes to the mic, and I'm thinking, thank God she's, you know, gonna save us. And she says, come here, stay here. And she says to the audience, you know, I asked them to come up here at the last minute to do this because, you know, I felt that it was important that we uplift our young people, and we push them to greatness. And so, you know, they may not have been prepared, but we need to encourage them. So, you know, they all clapped, and I'm thinking, okay, thank God. She was, but they're going to give this report. So go ahead. And she sat back down. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I mean, I'm like white in the face, but we stood up there. I don't know what I said. I got through it, but she would not let us sit down. And she is currently just named the HUD secretary, Marsha Fudge.
Oh my goodness.
There's a thing going out right now about her on Twitter where she goes to the podium and says, good morning, and no one responds. And she says it again. If you watch that clip, it's all over social media like this morning. You'll know why I was terrified to get up on that stage. But, you know, years later, she told me the reason that she did that and always did that for me was because she saw something in me that she knew I was capable of doing. And she felt like I'm just going to have to push her to go do it so she doesn't waste time and gets to it.
Yes.
What a wonderful story.
It's such a great
I never will do that to somebody else. I'll tell you that. I put people on the spot, and the team here will admit that, but I won't do you in front of 6,000 people. I was like,
that's empathy right there.
Yeah, that certainly made an impact though.
It did. And I'm always ready to speak on the fly, and it may not be perfect, right? But I'll always think about what might people ask me to do, what might people want me to speak about, what might I have to say, you know what I mean, just in case, because that was hands down the most embarrassing moment of my life. And I swore it would never be repeated.
So do you feel like now you're full speed ahead ready for any new opportunity, or are you still kind of like, oh, maybe not that fast or maybe not that high? Like, where are you in terms of your attitude about evolving your career?
I'm full steam ahead.
Okay,
I'm
that's great
definitely
to
full
hear.
steam ahead. Yeah, I feel very confident in my abilities. I feel very confident in what I bring to the table. I feel very confident in the skill sets that I have, and I know that I'm not average. And it's always a time when you think, oh, I don't want to be humble, and I don't want to gloat, and I don't see it that way. I see it as just that confidence, and I look at when I was a part of SEBA, I had that imposter syndrome. I walked in there, I was worried, like, oh, they're gonna know I don't know enough about real estate, or I don't know enough about this. When I came to this car, Chicago, I didn't have that imposter syndrome. I remember walking in this door and feeling confident in what I was going to be able to do. And that brought a whole different energy to the work here. And that allowed me to work better with the leadership. It allowed me to work better with the staff team. It allows me to work better with the volunteer leaders. And I think that as a woman, that's vital, you know what I mean? Because we have so many people in our ear saying, oh, don't be too assertive, or, don't say this, don't say that, dress this way, dress that way. But if you're so confident in yourself and sure of yourself, then you can show up for yourself first and foremost and not let a lot of that stuff, it still gets you, of course, but
Yeah.
you're more confident in it.
Oh, I think that's so great. Well, I think one of the things that like before we really jump towards the this really truly understanding, this empathy that you're talking about, the leadership skills, all those things, one of the things I'd love to crack open is this passion project that you started in the midst of the pandemic. And even the first couple of sentences that describe why this project became real is I've my heart like broke open.
Yeah.
Right. And so I really want us to spend some good time allowing you to talk about it, to share some of the highlights from that. So why don't you introduce what it is and
Sure.
share the heart of why, and
Yes.
so that we can get
Yes,
in.
yes, I'd love to. Yes. So Text to Table, it is a web series that I do with three CEO friends. We all are in association management, all association management CEOs, all African American. And we started this, Irving Washington, who's one of the co-hosts, it was kind of his idea to put what we talk about almost every day in a text chain on the table and let people hear what we talk about and go through and consider every single day as a Black leader
Mm,
in the C-suite. And when George Floyd was murdered this summer, we were texting each other about it. And we were texting each other like we always do about things like, what are you going to do at work? How are you going to show up for the team? Are you going to say anything on Facebook publicly? Are you going to do the, and these are things that, we always talked about. And I think everybody knows for some reason George Floyd's murder was different and a wake up call for the world. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight of that momentum. And we thought it was important for us to bring our conversations to the forefront. We had four different views, which was always the case. We tend to always kind of have different viewpoints, and we had four different ways of wanting to deal with the situation, to deal with the trauma of it, and different ways we were feeling. Some of us were cut off, some of us were angry, some of us were depressed, some of us were desensitized to it. And we kept getting phone calls from people, from our white colleagues, saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, can you tell me what to do, or I want to ask this question. And we all four reacted differently to it. So we said, you know what? Why don't we just record this conversation that we're having via text and then just post it and see and get the dialogue started that way? And then that way we can open it up and everybody can start to talk about these sorts of things. And that's what we did. And it really just took off, and we decided to commit to it, almost as a gift to the industry, and talking about you know, what we need to do to move forward. And we've been doing it. I think we've done like maybe 8 episodes. I don't even know anymore, but it's something that we did not expect to take off the way it has. It's in podcast form as well. We have a really, really great following on Facebook. We have a website, texttotable.com. And we're just there to have honest dialogue. It's not scripted. It's literally just us taking our text conversations to the table.
Mm. Well, and I love the energy that you feel simply scrolling through the Facebook page, right? And so I did drop a link to that in the comments. So for those of you who are like, where is it? That's where it is. Make sure to follow that page. So like it and make sure you're getting the notifications, because I missed something that I really was looking forward to seeing last night, and that was Ladies' Night.
Yeah.
And so give us a taste, a flavor. Like
Yeah.
what happens at Ladies' Night?
I was doing a little shoulder, you know.
Yeah, the shimmy, my goodness.
Shimmy. So, you know, the whole concept is to be relaxed and have this serious conversation in a relaxed atmosphere. So last night was Ladies' Night in honor of Women's History Month. So I brought on 4 other women in association management that came on. We're all also from that group a part of ASAE's Diversity Executive Leadership Program, which we call DELP. So we had that connection. So we all kind of came in, and same for the guys that I'm on with. We all were in DELP, and we're all fellows of association ASAE. So Ladies' Night is just the women's version, and we kick the guys off, and we talk about, you know, what it means to be a woman, but we also dive in what it means to be a Black woman, because there's another layer to that. Right. And we shared like what that experience is for the 4 of us. We come from 4 different generations, or 3 different generations in there. So it's really good to have those kind of dialogues. And last night was a live show. So we just talked about what was on our mind. I mean, we got on talking about our attire, like what did we all wear? Like I had on like a bling sweatshirt. Someone else had on like a dress. Someone's in like a t-shirt and a blazer. Someone's got like big earrings and stuff. And we talked about what makes us feel, you know, strong as a woman. And it was really, really cool way to open up. We talked a lot about what happened in Atlanta and the hate crimes that have been rising against Asian Americans, and where Black people and Black women stand in solidarity with that, and just those experiences as people of color that we have been privy to, and that the world is now seeing, and hoping that everybody is paying attention, because it's going to take everybody to change it. So we talked about that. Of course, we talked about Harry and Meghan's Oprah interview.
Of course.
Had to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We need to have a watch party. We need a watch party.
But really, I mean, we try to just bring these real conversations. And again, these were all from our text chains. You know what I mean? And there's just a layer for Black people, and I speak for myself, that comes before a lot of other things. Like I'm always aware when I'm the only Black person in a room, before I'm aware I'm the only woman, or before I'm aware I'm the only person of color. You know what I mean? And that's been just how life has been. And I don't know if it's because it's a segregated city or it's just the world. It's just been what it is. And to talk to other women that have that same experience in different ways is really powerful. And it's powerful to share that story because it starts such important dialogue with people that want to have these conversations and want to learn. And I've had so many people say to me, I never, ever had to think about who was in a room when I entered. I never thought about that, you know, and why do you think about that? And I want to have those kind of conversations with people. I want to share that experience. And I do that because I want, you know, hopefully my son one day to not be aware, you know, that he's the only one in a room, and to have a whole host of friends and live wherever he wants, and just have that different experience where it's not so divided.
Beautiful.
I feel like we need a moment of silence on that. We just went to church with Michelle.
Yeah. I went on the Facebook and I'm looking at all of these things I want to listen to like right now. So thank you for shining a light on that for me.
Yes. Please listen. All the videos are still there, and it's also on YouTube. You can go catch past episodes on YouTube. So check it out. Listen on
Great. Will.
podcasts when you're in the car.
Podcast for the Power Walks.
That's
Whoop, whoop.
it.
I love that. I love it. We'll make sure to rally and wrangle some of those
Thank
links
you.
in for sure.
Thank you.
Well, Leslie, it's your turn to do the
Is there
final.
anything else you'd like to share? It looks like it's gone by so fast. I feel like we just started like 5 minutes ago, but
I know, yeah, that did go
unfortunately,
fast.
that's not the case. So we really want to provide an opportunity for you to add or take the conversation in a new direction. Or I forgot one thing I really wanted to tell
Yeah.
you guys. This is your moment to do that.
Thank you. Thanks. I think just since we're all people in here affiliated with real estate, I think what I really want to emphasize is just we're in a lot of momentum right now, especially in the realtor community, the new code of ethics. And I just think that we have to maximize on that and hold people accountable for actions that are occurring. We're about to go into Fair Housing Month in April, and there's still so much that's still happening. And if we don't continue to be out front and educate as realtors, I think, we're going to see ourselves go backwards. At the Chicago Association of REALTORS, we have our first African-American president, Nakia Pipian McGriff, ever in 137 years.
Wow.
Ever. You know what I mean? And she is just such an inspiration to me and to so many people that are looking at her and wanting to be in that seat one day. And one of her passions is to make sure that there's others behind her. So she's the first, but not the last. And so just when you see opportunities like that, we don't want to have the first in 130 something years. We wanted to continue on and roller coaster into so many different people rolling into these positions. Because when there's diversity around these association tables and diversity at these brokerages and diversity at these companies, we create a better life and a better world. And I think the realtors have really stepped up in the right direction to bring that to life. So I'll just leave on that and just tell everybody to keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing and you just stay encouraged. Really, it's been a long year. And it's what, 3 months in? It's been a long one.
Michelle, you're preaching, you're speaking our language so much. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Before we
We
leave,
support you 100%. Wonderful.
before we leave, we just want to say a very happy birthday to Leslie, who's
Oh.
celebrating her birthday tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you. Every day is a gift, everyone. I am grateful for every wrinkle, and one thing about being in Florida is it's so humid. You just look plump and you just look good all the time, right?
Glowing.
I love it. I love it. We love you so much, Leslie. Thank you so much for
You
always
all.
bringing such wonderful, the book list. The book list
Yeah,
that we have gotten from you has been so amazing over the years, and all of the wisdom. And you have you haven't announced it yet, but you have another coffee and conversations coming up the first Wednesday in April. So remember,
a couple
everybody.
weeks. So next week we'll launch that and tell everybody what we're going to be talking about, because it's going to be fabulous.
It's going to be so good. So make sure, I think that's the first Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you save the date, everyone, for that. And again, shine a light on a fellow woman and tag it with hashtag I am woman up so that we can find it and we can help you amplify it. This is the time for us to fill our feeds with love. Remember the psst, don't know if you've heard yet. Women are supporting women now. Let's show them by our posts. Let's fill our feeds with love and honor for each other. And remember, if you don't want to support another woman because she is out of alignment with your values, simply don't unsupport her. Like, you just leave her alone. Leave her alone.
That's okay.
Don't talk about her. Don't talk against her. Just don't support. All right. Before I go down that rabbit hole, everyone, we're so thankful for all of you for joining us here live. Thank you for those of you who watched on the replay. Shine a light on her. Make sure you watch the Wisdom Series replay, and we will see you next week. Mwah. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.